Welcome to Perth Realtor Podcast. I'm your host Suraj Chirwal. In this episode, we are speaking with Residential Business Development Manager Gabe Hagen. Let's welcome him to the show. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Suraj. It's great to be here. Thank you.
What you are working on and what's keeping you busy these days?
In line with the market, I'm very busy with growing our residential property management portfolio. So how I would describe it to someone is you in your field of work, you sell the home, and in my field of work, I sell my team.
Yeah.
So it's my job to engage our new investors who are looking to purchase in Western Australia. We provide an expert level of property management service, and I sort of provide a clear pathway to how they can go from purchasing a property to having it tenanted and then using it as a asset and an income producing one.
Yeah.
So I provide sense, I provide clarity, and I work very closely with our property management team, who Suraj knows is a very strong group of professional ladies. And I think without them continuously educating me, I simply wouldn't be able to do what I do. So it's a great marriage of things that I'm interested in.
You need to have a really good property manager and make a good relation with the property manager. What's your thought on to this?
Absolutely. I think it's very important, specifically in our market now, when people are using it to increase their income.
Yeah.
Previously, I think you saw a lot of investors in WA. They were simple transactionary people, mom and dad investors who lived in their owner-occupied home, and then they had an investment property that they just kept on the side. They weren't using it so much as an income-producing vehicle. And with that, it was more of a relationship, simple service. But now there's a lot more on the analysis side, which I understand you're very involved in, on making sure that it's feasible. And then how does our service sort of maximize that? And it's a really important point in the market now as we're sort of going through a very fast-paced changing market. You really need the best advice to make clarity of the situation. Otherwise, there's so many different areas to look, so many people saying different things, and it's hard to make sense of it all. So
can you tell us like a bit of your background, how you grew up, and so how do you get into the real estate? And you are managing people and managing big team as well as a business development manager on the residential side. So that's a big commitment and big team as well. Every positions come with the responsibility as well. And how do you get into this? And what's the main tasks you are doing?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's a few questions in there, but about me, I was born in the US. My mother is from Papua New Guinea in our Pacific, just above us. And my dad is from America, and his family's from America. They sort of met, and out of that, they had traveled the world together, and they had my sister and I. I was born in the US, and I moved there when I was very young, and I have the accent, but I never really lived there. I more identify as an Australian, similar to yourself. This culture is very infectious, and once you get in, it's easy to become an Australian, right? Yeah. After I was born in the US, I moved to Ghana, and then I moved to Perth for the first time. And I find myself saying this to all of my clients. It was a blessing to live in Perth between the early 2000s, before we had our mining boom and also the GFC, because you could see Perth in its simplicity. It really was a small dormant city that had so much potential. And then as the onset of the mining boom had occurred here, there was more wealth being spent, more houses, and then the urban sprawl had begun. And now we see houses from Mandurah to Yanchep, right? Along our coastline. And that happened around the same time that I had moved from Perth to London. And I lived in London and lived there for 5 years. It was an amazing place because it gave me good perspective. And I think a lot of people that live in Perth, they grew up here their whole life. And they can't wait to go. They can't wait to see the world and explore everything. And perhaps when they were here, they took it for granted. And then once they go to another place, they see how good Perth really was, and they always come back and value it more. So that's what living in London had done for me. And then I came back in Perth in 2015, and I had finished high school and then went on to do uni here. And that sort of coincided with our previous real estate cycle, which was in sort of the top end of 2015. Yeah. And then it started its downward trajectory, which was then exacerbated by COVID, which obviously presented a lot of buying opportunities. And now we've had this continuous trajectory. So I would say on the basis of my travels, the one constant thing that was always in my life was where our home was. And so I think from a young age, I saw the importance of what a home means to people. And we had moved around a lot. I had rented homes. Our parents had bought homes as we traveled. And I had just always found such an interest and a desire to just want a safe place to call home, right? So that perhaps spurred my real estate interest. And then as I went on to uni and I did my commerce degree, it was such an open-ended field of choices of how my skills could be applicable. But I thought that passion for homes, my ability to connect with all different types of people, it sort of led into my interest in real estate as a profession spurring. And then that also just happened to coincide with this COVID market where our city was rapidly expanding in sales prices. And I was sort of seeing it happen all around me, and I just had a desire to learn more about what was going on in the rentals and the sales. And as I said to you earlier, I just Googled what a property manager was. I went to a careers night with a big real estate brand. I had some people speaking in front of me. And I then just asked the person who was speaking about property management what an opportunity for a beginner looks like. And that was almost 4 years ago. And I've worked my way from an assistant property manager, learning from a licensee who was amazing at what she did. And she was a 30-year veteran in property management. So just learning from their actions was the most valuable thing. And then I had opportunities presented to myself to step into the leasing and provide consultancy on leasing. And that helped me start engaging with owners and having more client-facing interaction. And then from there, the sky was the limit, really. And I have luckily had the opportunity for the last 18 months to be with Realmark, and we're really focusing on our client retention, our service, and how we can continue to grow in line with the market in Perth. And just the final point, you had said that I sort of lead a team of property managers. I really see myself and the property managers around me as, you know, we're all on this management platform, shoulder to shoulder with each other. There really isn't a power structure because I'm constantly learning from them and they're constantly giving feedback to me. And together we sort of work, you know, just hand in hand in our service. And then there's great leaders above us who you have the same access to. I think in this current market, the best thing you can do is find someone whose opinion you trust. That's realistically the first point of order. Because as I said before, you know, there's so many people speaking about different areas as the next hotspot, all this speculation about the next boom. When in reality, it's quite a simple transaction and you just need good advice and you need to buy the right property, regardless of what suburb it's in or what the growth rate was previously. So you need to do your due diligence. You need to have someone like you or I stepping into the home, looking at the home and giving our feedback on what it might look like after the first tenancy, or what might be minor modifications to enhance the value, or what potential structural issues could arise. That's sort of the first instance from the first home open. I would then also say you need a good finance person on your side, someone that's not going to make you max out your borrowing potential, because the worst thing you want is to have a very thin line in which you can't afford for the property to be vacant. You can't afford to do the necessary maintenance because you have no cash in your pocket and you're borrowed to the max and you're stressed. You put the stress on your manager and the whole transaction isn't what it should be. And I would say from there, once you have a property that you like, you need your property manager to be there from the start of the sales contract. They need to investigate the condition of the property, but also the condition of the lease. Have your property manager look over the lease documentation. I'm sure in your experience, you've sold a tenanted property before, perhaps when their lease expires in XYZ time frame, they're getting instructions from the previous manager, the vendor is making decisions on the lease that will then affect the purchaser. So I realistically think that making sense of the lease agreement alongside the actual property are your two main points of order to having success in our current market. And then beyond that, I think someone like you who's had experience as a property manager and as a sales agent, you know, if I could attach myself to someone like you and leverage your expertise in both sides of the transaction, then it's realistically a winning formula, right? But it just goes back to my first point about you need an expert on your side whose advice you trust. And as long as they can guide you in line with your common sense and your own due diligence and research, then the market continues to permit good growth, good rental return, and good assets.
If you really don't like something which you can't live in, then don't buy and don't fall for it.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about that?
I like that you said that, because that's something I've noted just from working in the market over the last 18 months. Previously, when we had our rental crisis, as it was described, around that 0.4 to 0.5% rental yield, not rental yield, sorry, vacancy rate.
Yeah.
Landlords thought they could put any house on the market and they would get top dollar for it because there's 100 people lining up at the door, right?
Yeah.
They invested nothing in their expert service provider. They chose the cheapest agent, and they didn't invest in the home. They provided homes that realistically, in a normal market, wouldn't have permitted such rent. And now, every month that goes by, as our rental median price continues to stabilize, there's just more and more importance placed on property managers to do their job correctly and keep the home in the best condition. And also on leasing agents to now, they provide a tailored service at the home open. They actually give time to people to answer their questions and walk them through the home. They almost are selling the rental property themselves, because now there's not the line of people out the door. There's still strong demand, but it's not as if it was a crisis period now. So there's much more importance on, like you said, putting yourself in the tenant's shoes. Would they accept that? Would they realistically find this attractive? Is the home I'm presenting worth the price? And if the answer is no, then your home's going to sit on the market for 30 to 60 days.
As a property manager, like when I was working as a property manager, I used to manage 100 properties. And what do you think the sweet number, the one property manager can handle the property really well and looked after the someone's, like the investor asset, because that can be someone's, you know, life earning and, you know, biggest asset of their life.
Exactly.
So what do you think, like some can manage 50, some can manage 100. So what is the best number there?
It's a good question. And I think if you asked each of our property managers, they would all tell you a different number, right? I don't think there's a magic number per agency. You just need to have the right processes in order to ensure that your property manager can have the client-facing interactions and all of the required necessities, like the routine inspections, the ingoing property condition report, vacating report. Those are done by other experts who you can perhaps not outsource to, but if you have a dedicated person to do those, I think then it frees up the time of the property manager. And the biggest thing in property management, as you've experienced, it's just communication. That's essentially the first reason someone would terminate their management. It's because they're not getting the communication. So with our team, we've found ways to essentially keep our property managers at the client-facing side. We've then dedicated and onboarded specific property professionals to do specific tasks. And that way, it's a very harmonious team. And on the back of that, I think a property manager can manage anywhere from 100 would be common in our business, all the way up to 150 plus. I know of a team over east in Brisbane, who's one of my main referral partners, and they have 4 property managers at the senior property management level, and they're each doing 180 to 200 properties.
Wow. With assistant, or
they have, as I had stated, people in each category assisting them, and they work sort of laterally in a spider web of organization. And they don't seem to, have difficulty in operating at that level. So it really is a question of what systems and processes you have to enhance the ability of your property managers to do their job. I think a question for you is, what do you think the average sales agent, how many listings are they getting in a year currently? I know it's very competitive, right?
Yeah, so it's depend on like the what kind of agent it is. Like there are some like top agent, they just believe on doing more transaction rather than getting a really good result, best result for the client. And I would say like some people even selling like 150 property in a year time, and there's few agent they are just selling 20 properties in a year as well. So it's depend, like you want to go in a number or you want to deliver the quality service.
Absolutely.
And personalized service with the result oriented and best outcome for your clients.
Absolutely.
So every agent and every class of the properties are so different. You will find like property with the mill and above, and you can find like $10 million worth of property, and still in Port, like we can find 400,000, 500,000, half a mil property as well. So it's depend which class of asset and property you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And what's your route and what kind of years and the client base you have.
Absolutely.
So I think average agent is like doing like 3 or 4 deals in a week. In a busy time. So that's the number. I think you can manage 3 or 4 listings as well at the same time. But if it goes beyond that point, I think you get a new phone call and you are really confused with what's this property about and things like that. You can't really handle. But as you said, like the property manager can do 200, even 300 property as well. But if they have a network and the like, people can assist them and handle every specific task. So it's really depend on that as well.
What is your goal for the next 5 years in terms of doing volume? Do you want to do record number sales in a year, or do you want to do valuable homes and you can attach yourselves to a smaller number of clients? What do you envision for yourself?
So thank you for these questions. So definitely we want to increase the number as well, but at the same time I don't want to lose my client behind. I don't want to leave them behind. I want to build a relation, and what I promise is I want to be your real estate consultant for their life.
Absolutely.
So I want to take them into my journey of investment.
Absolutely.
And if they need any advice with the tax and any advice with the mortgage broker as well, because I'm not qualified as accountant or mortgage broker, I refer to them really good clients and really good network as well. Like I referred you like few property for the management as well. They absolutely loving that process because we've been able to secure the tenant on same day once they sign the contract. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
That's been really achievable, and they were really happy, and we got their testimonials as well. That thing doesn't lie.
It doesn't lie. And then on the back of that transaction, you had said you had 2 more referrals. Just on the back of that, one investor, he can't buy another one, but he's then put you in the hands of people who can. And you're going to assist them moving forward, right? So I like what you said about being their agent for life, because I think too many people, especially those who have started recently, they're so transactionary and they just care about how much GCI they'll write in their first year. And they don't care if they leave a client behind as long as they get their commission, right? When the property settles. So I think those who are going to last, and this is something that's told to me by our founder, John, it's the people that have the ability to invest time and build the relationships over time, because there's no secret. Right? There's no magic formula. There's no way you can buy listings. It really is just the hard work and the boots on ground, which you're doing. So well done.
Thank you. And what I feel is like when I approach new people and new clients, so what I find is like their prospect to real estate agent is a bit different, because most of the agent, they just use them as just a transaction just to make a quick money from out of that. But for me, it's their biggest investment and biggest asset of their life.
Absolutely.
And if I have to sacrifice 10,000-15,000 from that transaction, but if I give them a good advice, and so I will definitely take that, because even if I can't do that deal, and they will definitely refer me in a good way from their friends and family.
Absolutely.
So that's what I believe. So I don't push and I don't force people. I just give them a time and I just educate them what real estate is, how they can expand their portfolio and things like that. Lately, in few weeks time, like 2 or 3 weeks time, we got number of listings like significantly jumped from 2,700 to 5,500 and still increasing. Saying that, like, spring is a selling season, historically we get more listing in this time of the year, but at the same time the vacancy rate is from 0.7 to 1.4 now, and still upward trends. So what do you think, like, is the investor stocks is coming out in the market, or it's a new supply, or what do you think of this scenario on the market?
Absolutely. So I think one of the key things to note is our median rental price is stabilizing. It's remained the same at 650 for 3 consecutive months, which it hadn't done for the past 2 years. It's just continued to grow rapidly. I think exactly what you said about new stock coming to the market, but the most important question to ask is, what does this stock look like and where is it? Essentially, the majority of this new stock that's coming out are homes that have been gone from signing a deal on a brand new build to rent home or an off the plan home. They've spent the last even some clients have had 4-year build times, but 18 months to 4 years of having their homes built. And now these homes are at practical completion and they're handing over the keys to the owner, who are then putting them on the rental market. So there is a gentle influx in stock, but it is still a very low number in terms of a stable market, right? Our vacancy rate in a normal market should be anywhere from 3 to 5%, right? So we're still half of what we need to be. But as I said, the question is, where are these homes located? And the majority of them are in these urban sprawl outer lying estates in the west, the northwest, from Yanchep, Alkimos, Eglinton, things like that, all the way down to the south, from Baldivis all the way to the Mandurah region, right? There's parcels of land that are slowly being developed. And with that, I think the vacancy rate, if you looked at it on a suburb level, there are still areas in the Perth metro area which are extremely tightly held. And I think the vacancy rate as a whole, it shows a trend of general increase in supply, but it's still so far off where it needs to be a healthy market. So moving into the end of this year and the start of next year, I've said it since about June, July of this year, but we're just going to continue to see the affordability ratio of renters increase. So when you rent a home, of course, it's that 30% or below affordability ratio, and that's your household income divided by how much rent you'll pay in a year. And rents have just continued to increase, and there's been no supply opportunities, so people have just had to spend more out of their own pocket to pay their rent. So that's why I think over this Christmas period, people are just going to continue to have to tighten their purses and unfortunately deal with this market as we shift into the new year. And then what the new year looks like from a rental perspective is very uncertain, because we could have interest rate changes that are going to affect the opportunities. We could have a lot more influx of these new homes being complete. And we could also see a surge in new home approvals, which is a precursor to how many homes are going to be continue to be built. And right now we have this very optimistic target of 30,000 plus, and we can't seem to do half of that in a year in Perth. So I think from an investment standpoint, it's going to continue to provide opportunities, but I think there's more emphasis on
suburb to suburb and location, you mean to say,
and also on the condition of the home. I don't think investors can buy now and afford to have a home in bad condition, and they're going to spend $5,000 to $10,000 in the first year to improve the home, but they won't see that money come back on an increase in rent.
Right.
So people need to really be doing their due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an interstate investor,
Mm-hmm.
try your best to have someone you trust
Mm-hmm.
and to actually get, visual insights into
Mm-hmm.
the home at that
Yeah.
first home open. But
Yeah.
if you were buying a home right now
Mm-hmm.
for investment purposes,
Mm-hmm.
looking to get your portfolio expanded,
Mm-hmm.
what would you look for in terms of an investment spec home?
Yeah, so personally, like it's depend on your borrowing capacity as well. And I was looking for like a townhouse. I think the townhouse and unit and villa kind of asset that's in the range of first home buyer and someone who wants to get into the market for the first time as well. That stock is still growing. So I was looking into that as well. I think that stock is also gone up because first time it started as a green title property, and now like people are going for the units and villa.
Absolutely.
And that kind of stock which is really affordable and accessible as well.
Exactly.
I was trying to get in like the suburb like Queen's Park, Beckenham, and you kind of that kind of suburb as well, and it's getting out of hand as well, increasing 10,000-15,000 every month.
Absolutely.
And so I would definitely invest on those kind of asset. And I really don't go near where the new supply is coming. If the land development is happening, I never go around there. And so as you just said earlier, so the N-shape Alkimos, and there's lots of exposed happen to the new supply side, and even same thing with the Rockingham region.
Absolutely.
And Mandra as well, lots of development happening. All of a sudden you will get 100 200 houses into the market. So that's why the vacancy rate is increasing.
Absolutely.
Just in those
In those
suburbs,
areas,
right?
Yeah.
So it's really depend, like you are not you can't really invest in Perth on this market blindfolded.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was the scenario was different back 2 to 3 years.
When you can just
Now-
look on the paper and see the numbers.
Yeah, and you can just invest anywhere like a blindfolded.
Exactly.
Just
And the
pick
bank will
this
just
one.
give you your money
Yeah.
based on the calculations.
Yeah, now as you said, at the end of the transaction, and you need to have someone need to live in this property. It need to be livable and rentable, and it's depend on the location as well.
Absolutely.
And so what location, what's the demography, and like you are buying property where is the most of the houses is like 5 bedroom and 3 bathroom. Then if your property is 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, then you will find harder to rent that asset.
Absolutely.
So you definitely have to read what kind of properties are there and what kind of demand and renters are there as well. I think that's the key to get into the suburb level.
Absolutely. I think as well, I've found from being in the leasing as well, you get the applications and you do the vetting and you get to investigate sort of who these people are, what their interests are, but what they do professionally as well. And on the back of that, I've always looked at the census data for the suburb. It's very insightful. It tells you what their language they spoke at home, where their parents were born in each suburb, what their education levels are, their incomes, their interests, their religion. It's once you understand, who the people are to your left and right in the neighborhood, I think it gives you much more clarity on who then will be attracted to that home from an investment standpoint. But you had said about Queen's Park, Beckenham, even in Yokan. What about those suburbs do you like? Just in general idea.
That would be from the investment perspective.
Absolutely.
Because those are the suburbs you might feel like we had a tenant ready on just the next day or same day.
Exactly.
So the rental demand is really high. There is
Such
job
a-
infrastructure, and the train line is developing on Queen's Park and Beckenham as well. It's on the growing market as well.
Absolutely.
And in terms of Yokan and Balkata and that side is like really established suburbs, and you
Absolutely.
can't really toss the green title property is million and above, but the townhouse still you can get in.
Absolutely.
And like 400,000-600,000 you can get really good rental rate, like 450-500 for decent 2 bedroom 1 bathroom units and apartment, and villa is more than that. I think 1 3x2 house 6 months ago I leased myself for 750.
Yeah.
That was in Balkada. So you really look for the growth and the rental return to hold that property for a long period of time, because in real estate you only make more money as long as you can hold for a long period of time. Real estate is not a get rich quick scheme.
Absolutely.
So you need to hold this property for a long period of time, then only you can make the money. So what we can see in the market is like Perth haven't seen this kind of growth in last 6-7 years, and all of a sudden people got like 200,000 300,000 in every single property, and that's why they are getting that stocks out as well, because we having that growth and they are downsizing or getting into another
their
property
second home,
and
absolutely.
the bigger home as well.
Exactly.
So that's
Upsizing.
what's happening.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are doing that now, but clearly the problem is they're able to sell their home, but they can't find the next place in their property journey, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are even selling their homes and then coming into the rental market for the short term, and maybe they're building a brand new home in one of these suburbs and they need a rental in the short term. So it seems to be a very sort of cyclical market, and the general trends I'm seeing is that it's not going to slow down for the next 12 to 24 months. I'm quite confident in that. We'll see stabilization. We'll see renters having more affordability ratio back in their pocket. So perhaps they'll be spending less on rent and they can afford a better lifestyle. And that would be in line with also inflation decreasing, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would also say that's important to track is, as we see these outlying suburbs grow, it makes the suburbs internally that are maybe within 10 to 20 Ks of our Perth metro area more attractive.
Yeah.
And I think we'll start seeing the prevalence of blue chip suburbs emerging, suburbs that are protected from the market. They will always remain valuable because maybe they're close to the beach, or maybe they're next to the city, or they have an amazing suburb school catchment, something like that. I think we'll continue to see the prevalence of the blue chip, and then more competition within those suburbs as well. So certain suburbs are going to continue to see these massive increases in sales prices. And I think one important thing that you had said about Balga and Balcata and even Beckenham and Queen's Park, it's only 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get to the city. Like, we take our connectivity in Perth for granted. If you worked in Sydney or Melbourne, people commute 1 hour one way every morning just to get to work, right? If you work in the CBD. But here, you can get to...
from north to south in just 30 minutes.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, like you said, from my perspective, if you're thinking, if any viewers are watching and they're thinking about investing in Perth, start your journey by looking between the city and the beach.
Yeah, that's the key.
Those are just those are continuously our best areas, the highest demand, the highest median prices. Just start by looking between the city and the beach, and then from there, your curiosity will take you into whatever suburb. So,
someone wants to bring that property on market to sell. So, what's the key factor they can increase their valuation on terms of while selling, and how they can prepare their property to sell?
I think the first thing people always notice when they walk around a home is the settlement cracks in the cornices of the roof. Just small things. It doesn't seem significant from a structural perspective, but those little enhancements go such a long way. I would say window treatments are something I always advise my landlords. Take time to replace those old vertical blind slats and put nice shears or curtains on the property. And then the biggest thing, something that almost makes me laugh from a rental perspective, is when I walk into a home perhaps built in the 80s or the 90s and they don't have any air conditioning or ceiling fans at all.
Wow.
I think in WA it should be illegal because it gets so hot. But even to this day, putting a split system in the main living room, some people don't think to do that. But heating and cooling solutions, it's perhaps one of the best investments you could make in your home to increase the livability and in turn increase the value. Because, if a vendor was going into one of your home opens and there was no system in the master or in the living room, they're going to automatically discount your property by $10,000, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how much it would realistically cost them to install it. So I think if you can have that, and also just have someone, an impartial person like yourself, giving you the right advice from the onset, invest the money in maximizing, you know, the cosmetic side of it.
Right.
And then make sure that those creature comforts that we all take for granted, the simple things like a nice light shade, nice heating, cooling solutions, a nice feeling on the floorboard or the carpet under your foot, like all of these things matter and they add value, right? What's something you advise your clients on when they're bringing their home to market as a key focus?
Yeah. So, you know, when I speak someone who is living on that property and they want to bring that property on market, it's like if you have a kid, like no matter what condition and what color they have, they absolutely love their kid, right? So home is something similar for them. Like they absolutely love their home, but when they are selling, that home need to be on sale mode, not live mode. So they have to take off their personal belongings, hide them away, because they want to sell, and someone wants to buy that property and they want to see and feel that property
themselves.
Yeah, and having a quick refresh of the quick paint and having really good lights, as you said, and
even staging.
Yeah, staging, that's really help and make them emotionally connected. And some people really forget the front appealing, front landscape. And even the letterbox, and letterbox is like it's in the middle or it's not that pressure wash. It's really onto the really best condition. So that's the first impression you will get. So you need to have a really good impression from the front, your lawn, and
the street appeal.
Yeah, street appeal, front appeal, from the door to leading to your living area and kitchen. So that's the most primary focus thing, I would say. And they really love that property, and someone who wants to buy like 600, 700, even 8,000 worth of value onto the property and some asset, they will definitely want something. They want to move in straight away. Yeah, they don't want any hassle. Because they have gone through the stock market. Some buyers is already looking at 10, 20 properties and they're constantly missing out. And they are in property journey for 3 months, 6 months. They don't want that hassle, They are really desperate, and maybe they will pay 10,000 more for the property who looks really appealing, and they just turn the key and come and live in.
Everyone wants to turn the key now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to turn the key.
No one wants the hassle.
Exactly.
Yeah. Otherwise, and you can make the value and more money fixing that small little things. Solving some problems can make you money. That's the business.
Exactly. It's similar to what you said. Money attracts money, or money makes money. You need to invest in your home, and the return on investment in your pocket will be, insurmountable, right? I wonder if there's any tricks or something that you found that works for you at your home opens. Like, are you spraying a certain scent or playing music, or do you like the blinds and the doors open? Like, how do you create an experience at your home opens?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Yeah, this is like home open is not just showing them the wall and brick and the size of the bedroom. It's about making them visualize and seeing they are living in there. So I try to make them as easy as I can to visualize themselves living in that property. So it's come from the preparation, just hiding away the personal belongings from the seller's part. And so I'll just go a bit earlier to open all the door, turn on the lights on. If the weather is really hot, turn the cooling on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so light the candle and good smells as well. And let the natural lights coming in and really soft good music as well, so they can visualize as well. Now, if we do VIP home open and the premium home open, and now even we are practicing offering them a good cup of wine and good the platter as well, because they want to see and visualize how it looks like living in that property.
Create an experience.
So we have to go and do whatever it takes, and what kind of property it is. It was really easy. It was 30, 40 people. I used to even run for 1 hour, 15 minutes, the home open, because there were constant flow of the people.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now, like, there is more supply coming in. But if you are opening or doing the home open right, that will definitely increase in value.
Exactly. And I think, prices are increasing, right? People are spending more on their home. So if they're spending premium price, they expect the premium service, from the first home open.
Yeah.
So if you can provide that, then one, they'll spend more on the home and they'll feel as though it's justified, but they'll also remember you as the person who provided that experience. And that's how, of course, you're continuing to build your network and your past clients. But from a rental perspective, I know our leasing manager, Mr. Mark Lim, he's really, in his own right, he's into electronic music, and he even produces music.
Oh, okay.
And he has made specific playlists for the home opens, for his rental home opens.
Wow.
So he's even curated the music
Right.
to just set the right ambiance. But I've always had this signature spray, a room spray that I've used in all my home opens when I was leasing the homes. Because, people, if there's a bad smell, from the first instance, the smell hits you before you can even see the home, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's just about crafting that experience.
And that smell will take you, and your focus or your attention will, like, you won't have that 100%
You're not looking
focus.
at the home. You're worrying about what you're...
The smell.
Exactly. And, it's just an interesting that I think the leasing experience is becoming more and more how the traditional sales experience would be. As I said, like, the home open now needs to be more of an experience.
Yeah.
And that's something we're trying to craft, within our agency. And the good thing is if you're doing a good job or a bad job in real estate, people will tell you straight away.
Yeah.
It's easy to get feedback.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing all this information and market insights for our audience. And I really, get a chance to know lots of things from your background to how you get into real estate. And, in busy schedule, like, we initially started doing this podcast for like a month earlier. You had earlier commitment and we couldn't do. And I would definitely love to do this kind of
absolutely more
talk more frequently, and maybe we can give monthly update for our clients and for our audience.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for being here onto the show. And if someone wants to get into the real estate, or if they wants to know you, and if they wants to connect you in personal level or from the professional level, where they can find you.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks, Suraj.
You're welcome.
I love the platform you've built and, the career you've done for yourself. It's very notable, and I'm happy to be working with you.
Thank you.
Clearly, our results are strong, and, I want to continue to learn from you. So thank you again. And if people want to find me, I love posting on LinkedIn. I think it's sort of a free-flowing place for me to share my ideas and our results. And you can find me at Gabriel Hagen, or you can find me under Perth Investment Property Solutions. If you search that, you can generally find me there. Otherwise, I'm working at Realmark Urban, of course, as the residential business development manager. But if you have any questions, or you want to get in touch with me and maybe bounce some ideas off with me, honestly, the question I tell to all of my clients is just ask how we can help. Because if I don't have the answer, I can ask Suraj or someone else in our network and lean on them. But I would say the one thing that you've said that's resonated with me strongly and that I've carried forward in my short career so far is you need to really start from a point of passion and interest. And that is the key to real estate. Otherwise, you'll get involved in something that you don't like, you don't want to do, and you won't be able to get the results that you want for yourself, right? So start with passion, ask the right questions, find good mentors like you and I both have, and find ways to learn from those people and eventually take tasks off their plate until you can get to a point where you can comfortably say that you feel as though your advice is valuable. And that's when sort of the opportunities continue to present themselves, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gabe, for all this time and all this information for our audience. And
I hope to be back soon.
There are so much thing I need to learn from you as well. And I will put your social link and all description on our show notes. And if they have any questions, and please feel free to comment and subscribe our channel. And if you want to know any particular answer, we are more than happy to answer on our next episode. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.